a few words about what I'm going to present. In terms of my lifelong participation in the environment and its sustainability, I have traveled the world with my parents. So I want to say to everyone, hello, and let's get started. Nancy and Lorraine, they have been very helpful to arrange everything for this presentation. And first thing I want to say as an anthropologist, if we look at the big picture, this is a chart showing 100,000 years of climate change on the planet. And where it's circled on the right-hand side, the upper right-hand side, is the last 10,000 years. So as you can see that people have had a very rough ride with climate change. For the first 90,000 years of settlement, as they did in caves mostly. But in the last 10,000 years, they were able to have what is called the Neolithic Revolution and develop architecture, weaving, making of pottery, refined stone tools, and the development of civilization. All this happened just within the last 10,000 years, because as you can see, the climate had stabilized. So here we are, our planet cloud covered and plenty of water. So what I want to say here is that through the centuries, we have local and indigenous knowledge about people who have understood the natural world to be their inspiration. And here we go. So my question is, how can we bring local ecologies into sustainability and to live in nature with our daily lives? So where do we live? It seems to be a simple question, yet do we know? Do you know the ecology of where we live today? Let's take Santa Monica, the Palisades, where I grew up, for example. There are sacred springs, indigenous inhabitants, and people have lived in California for many thousands of years. And in terms of language and culture, it's the most diverse place in North America. So with this one, you can see California, where we live. Down here is the Tongva and the Chumash, where they come together. Chumash in the Palisades in Malibu, and the Tongva in the Los Angeles Basin. And they voyaged, of course, they were voyaging people to the Channel Islands, where they had marine culture, and they enjoyed this view of living in the Palisades. Let's go to the Portola expedition of 1769, where they found fresh water at a spring. And does anyone know where the spring is located? It's called the Gurunganava Springs of the Tongva peoples. And it's at the corner of Barrington and near Santa Monica Boulevard at Ohio, and the corner of University High School. And there you can get this spring bubbling out from groundwater for many centuries. And it flows out into ponds. And you can visit this place where the Spanish knelt down and decided that it resembled the tears of Saint Monica, who prayed for her son Augustine on the pillar. And so they named our place Santa Monica. And her statue is in Palisades Park. You can see there. And so where I grew up, I went across the street and I was on La Mesa Drive and I had these beautiful trees to climb. And I went down to Rustic Creek and I had fresh water. And there I learned to swim in the creek. And it's always flowing year round. And you can see the creek here. And so I grew up with my Sierra Club parents, George and Eleanor, and they decided that they're going to take the family around camping. So my Canadian father, he was a gymnast, an alpinist, a yodeler, rock climber, and both my parents loved to ski and camp. And so they fell in love in the Sierras, and they wanted to continue their life communing in nature. And that is the way I was brought up. My father, he built ski huts in the Sierras. So my mother thought, well, if he could build ski huts, why not build a house? So they found the last vacant lot out of the morning fog. My mother believed that the fog belt went up to 23rd Street. So if they could find a lot beyond 23rd Street, they would build a house. And that's what my father did. And on the day the house was completed, I was born. So in my talk today, I'm going to revisit my life's education and how I grew up knowing local knowledge of Santa Monica, its groundwater, and how I played in the local canyons and creeks where the water flowed into the ocean. So this is my grandfather, my mother's father, and had a house built on Alta Avenue near Ocean. And then on Fridays, he was Roman Catholic. We would go down to the Santa Monica Pier, the end of the pier. And on Fridays, we had to catch 40 fish. And I asked Grandpa, why 40? He said, that's in the Bible, 40 days, 40 nights. It's all 40. So I would catch 20, he would catch 20. I was only, 5 and 7 years old at the time. And go back to the house and he would prepare a supper for everyone with fish on Friday. So for my experience, it was education, growing up, camping. And then for some reason, my parents decided to take the family camping around the world for a year. Now I thought, that was cool. Out of high school, out of going around the world. And but by the time I was 16, we had hiked and camped in 27 countries. And with my Quaker godparents, I was able to get to go the panhandle of Oklahoma, High Plains wheat farm. And I learned about Ogallala groundwater. And it's one of the world's largest ground rivers. And under the continent of North America, it flows. It flows across the continent. There you go. And you can see Ogallala here. And anyone from South Dakota to North Texas knows about this big river system. So farmers, to get the sweet water, they drill and take the groundwater and irrigate their fields. So this is what we did, working on the farm. I went there for 5 seasons. And our meals were robust: corn, potato, beans, meat, freshly baked bread. So my life's journey continued to New Mexico, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, where I gathered abundant knowledge of how the local people observe their environmental sustainability. And I became a visual anthropologist. So as a visual anthropologist, I then started to to work in the Eurasia Pacific region, mapping and working in Taiwan. And then recently I went to take courses in Santa Monica College for the sustainability of the environment. And I will continue that in the fall. So in taking that course, I was part of a volunteer group that went to measure the King High Tide on Sunday morning, January 22nd, at the Santa Monica Pier. We gathered at the Gilda Bay Aquarium. Have you been there? Anyone? It's really a very good learning aquarium to visit. So I participated with the group to photograph the beach for measuring the high tide. We gathered at the aquarium, and we were there gathered with people. There's Lorraine to coach us into measuring the high tide, and then we went there to photograph. And I was interested in photographing how the people gathered and interacted in measuring the high tide. And we could see the water swirling up from the ocean into estuaries. Excuse me. And here we go, measuring the highest tide point. So as I mentioned, growing up with my Sierra Club parents, I learned about life in terms of experience and its foundation in nature. And then somehow I got to Asia. And in Asia, I came to an island known as Formosa. You might know it as Taiwan. The name of the island is Formosa, and the political name is Taiwan. And I went there, and lo and behold, I was hired as a professor of visual anthropology and to teach courses in South Asia as a cultural area and the anthropology of religion. So there I joined the environmental naturalist groups, and we climbed to peaks over 13,000 feet. And then I started to use my visual anthropology to document religion and beliefs in Taiwan. Well, there we started a movement called EcoWatch that predating the Environmental Protection Agency of Taiwan. And it was a voluntary group where people started to become aware of the environment and do cleanup through the mountains and parks. So I found that Taiwan, as a region of contrasts of people, of many indigenous peoples and people who had moved there from Southeast Asia and China over the years. It's also a place of dynamic typhoons and earth tremors. And I came across the east coast of Taiwan and its marble cliffs and its canyons and beautiful, pristine water flowing out into the ocean. So there I found a group called Amis, an indigenous people of the east coast of Taiwan. And I'm going to show you their aquaculture. As the people living on the seacoast, they moved inland sometimes to rivers and to cultivate what they had learned from the reefs of the coast, layers of habitats that they recreated the reefs into water resources. So this is called Ma Tai An, and it's a place of ponds and wetlands. And they have eco zones that they have acknowledged of the flora and fauna of life below and above the water. And they make the reefs in layers so that in bamboo, that they can then have a woven resource of layers in the ponds. And they have aquatic plants with their fish and shrimp and crab. And then they can do aquatic harvesting in the ponds as they would have done from the reefs. So as we come back to the Tongva people of Los Angeles, or the Chumash of the Palisades, the people are around, you can meet them. They're not gone, they're just in the environment. Los Angeles has more indigenous people of North America than any other city. And do we know them? They're here, they're living with us. And so this is a shrine to ancestors, and indigenous people throughout the city of Los Angeles also have their shrines and their rituals that they observe. So it was Earth Day at UCLA this year that I was given the idea by a professor of environmental sustainability at UCLA to use my photography over the years to track climate change. So I started to photograph Sri Lanka when I was 22. And so this is the island of Ceylon. The island's name is Ceylon. The country's name is Sri Lanka. And so I'm making an album, an archive of ancient civilization and the way people live in nature. So this is my friend Sudubanda. He is a forest dweller. He hunts for honey and especially climbs trees, and they are a Mesolithic people. That means they don't have weaving or agriculture. They do foraging and living a natural life. And in their language, the most common vocabulary is nature. Also, I'm returning to my Faces of Culture. This was a Orange County television program, a series, and I worked on the program guide for the series. And these are some of the photos that I can share with you from the series. It's how to farm in China, in New Guinea, in Oklahoma, portraits of people in Japan, Central America, and in Russia, and how people in the Arctic play piano, what are their songs, a Buddhist monk mending a robe, and at the Navajo Community College, how the college architecture was made and to reduplicate a hogan with 6 sides to show their spiritual architecture. So I have practiced and observed exorcism. I have lived in villages in Sri Lanka. I became a wedding photographer. I communed with nature. And I'm now making an archive of these photographs to tell the story of humanity. So let's come home to my front garden. This is from Oklahoma, Panhandle, made by my godparents and Gordon Lewis. He was very good at welding and made a wheel that's at the front of our house. And there was my first vehicle, my abode out of high school. I was 18 and I was able to get to London, and I did this car arrangement, the camper that was that has a kitchen and a bedroom and seats 5 people. And then I was able to drive this vehicle across Russia and the Ukraine. I don't know why and how I did that, because there are no service stations over there. And if I had any problem with this vehicle, but it's still running today, and it's been through Alaska, Central America, across North America many times, and it continues to run, so it's pretty reliable. And it's parked in front of the house my father built. So now I'm writing a book entitled Living in the House My Father Built and Working in My Mother's Garden. So when I was 16, I planted a black pine as a sapling. Now it has grown up. So we have a sweet potato, and we harvest the leaves. And so at Santa Monica College, they also have a very good garden that is an inspiration to create an edible garden that I'm now working on. So the land is about a 1/4 acre. The house occupies 20%. And as I mentioned, it's just beyond the Santa Monica's fog belt. So we have 300 days of sunshine as we do today. So this is our garden. And in the garden, my mother decided to get my books out of the house. And she had a competition of architects. A French architect won the competition and built this habitat library for me and to house the books that I have, and they're in there. And it also is self-contained. It has a kitchen, bathroom, shower, and many books. So this is, and behind the habitat, I have the Quonset, and this is where I lived up through high school. Very congenial, very environmentally friendly, and also it keeps a common temperature throughout winter and summer. A very nice place to live. And in our garden, we have lemon, we have prickly pear, apples, and 4 kinds of blueberries, fennel, rosemary, avocado, fig, and plenty of natural life that we observe in the garden. And I'm preparing for garden renewal and to become a farmer. So at the Ishihara Park Learning Garden, we met up with Teg Waybright, and he is an excellent teacher and showed us how to manage a garden and make pickles. So this was one of the activities of the Climate Corps. And then we had a really fun event for the 4th of July. And we marched in the parade and we made our own sunflowers. This is Mario holding sunflowers. And now I'm going to show you a little clip of the parade. It was really a fun event. A lot of people came out and participated. And then recently we went to the Santa Monica managers meeting, and our Climate Corps fellows, they presented, and the people at the meeting were very impressed. And I enjoyed the meeting, especially because I learned about a new project, 19th Street Community Farm. And it's on 19th Street and Pico. It's going to be a community farm and wellness center. And this Saturday morning, I'm going there to work on the ground clearing for this new community project in Santa Monica. And also we had California Climate Corps fellows presenting. So a lot of the younger people now are being switched in to help with understanding the environment, and also to involve the community for designing the farm. So my ethnographies are now local. I just met with, and I got to the annual report from Sunny Wong, and he is managing the Santa Monica groundwater basin, where most of the Santa Monica water is coming for more than a century from the ground. And he is interested in my project for mapping local ecologies, and he would like to do that with me. So I'm finding that this environmental awareness, such as with the Climate Corps, is a very good way to sort out things that I'm doing now, like sorting out my books. And yesterday I learned that I could go to the Santa Monica Library and donate my books on Fridays between 11 to 2. So I'm planning to do that. And also I'm working on a project on how to make streets safe in Santa Monica. So this was an accident that happened. It even broke the slow down sign last weekend. And also working on mapping indigenous Los Angeles. So as we know that our human knowledge could be passed on to generations to come in the future, or they could be the knowledge that is forgotten. Yet today people have developed processes which to select ecological resources and integrate those resources into their local cultural life. And how are we going to do that? We have many opportunities, applications, we have our phones, we have a huge internet knowledge base. And so that's what I'm going to be working on. Anthropology, mentoring my students. I've developed a new course on local histories of Los Angeles. I'm going to become a climate activist, helping local projects like the 19th Street and Pico Park, and publishing photography that I have many years of archives of photographs, writing short stories, and being in nature, living in nature to save our planet.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much. Nancy, I didn't see questions in the chat. And that's probably because people were so engaged in the presentation. I have many questions, but since I'm not seeing them in the chat, we're going to pivot a little because we're also not a huge group. And maybe if people have questions, they can just raise their hand. And Nancy, are you okay facilitating that if we pivot to doing a raise hand Q&A sort of thing?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So Nancy's going to facilitate, and thank you again, David, and everyone for being here. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. Well, I'm going to start with one, just to get it going. And I was very intrigued by your friend. I think his name was Sudubanda. Maybe I have it wrong. Who is a forest dweller, David. And I'm reflecting on an article that was in the Washington Post the other day about sort of a crisis affecting the spirit and outlook of men in our society who do not seem to, especially young men who do not seem to have enough, and I'm thinking of your experiences also, enough opportunity to engage in challenging, risky, adventuresome behavior that to me seems fundamentally human, going out and catching your own food and living in the forest. Do you have any reflections on if it's at all possible for us to reclaim any of sort of living wild in our modern day?
Before becoming an anthropologist, I was going to be a student of history. I was really actually employed as an engineering draftsman, and I worked for 3 years on the developing the detonator to the Poseidon missile. And that took me into architecture as a draftsman in architecture. Then I became a photographer, wedding photographer in Beverly Hills. All this before I got to Sri Lanka at 22. So when I got to Sri Lanka, then I discovered that there was a completely untold civilization and world of people seemingly unknown to us. and how they live. I changed my objective of engineering and what I was doing in Santa Monica prior to going to Sri Lanka to become an anthropologist, to understand humanity and how people live in the world. So one of my missions have been for many years is taking people as a ecocultural traveling seminar leader and developing seminars for people to understand, as in your question, what is your question? How do young people, young men, understand other young men and people in other cultures, foraging, living in the forest, through agriculture, being an exchange student to live on a farm in Oklahoma, or as I was giving these traveling seminars, people wanted to know how Buddhism evolved and where we could find pristine Buddhism in the world today. So I took people to Russia, across Siberia, South Siberia, to the Russian republics of Tuva and Buryat. I took people to visit the Humble Lama living at the edge of Lake Baikal. Lake Baikal in Buryat has about how much water the Amazon has in the world. It has the same volume in one lake of fresh water with 330 rivers flowing into it, the deepest lake in the world, and it's Buddhist. It's and the Dalai Lama goes there, and he has praised the Humble Lama to say that he is only second to himself in terms of presiding over world Buddhism. So there's a lot of things that we don't understand or can see or to perceive for young people to get to know how to live. One of my co-workers when I was an engineer, he is from East Los Angeles, a young man, Hispanic. He had never seen the ocean, so I took him to the ocean. And then he had never been to a national park, so I got him in my camper and we went to Yosemite for the weekend. I think it's all about sharing experience. We need to share experience with young people, with other young people, and in different ways of doing things.
Wonderful. Thank you. I love that as a lesson, sharing experience. Thank you.
Hello, we have a question here from Wes. He said, do you know where exactly in the park where is the Marine Park Community Garden, and is it operational?
What is the park?
Yes, and is it operational?
What is the park? The name of the park?
Marine Park?
I don't know the Marine. Is it the Marina del Rey or?
You know what? I think we'll have to get to that another time. Yes. Jing Lu has a question. Thank you, Wes, though. Wes, if you email me, I think you have my email or the Climate Action Santa Monica email or Chris Gutierrez's email. And while we're answering Jing Lu's question, I'll put Teague Waybright's email in the chat, and you could certainly ask him. So thank you, Wesley, for that question.
So Farsha says, hi, David. Thank you for the great talk. I admire you and your experience and couldn't agree more. Life is all about experience. I'm teaching geology and cartology in Santa Monica College. I heard that you're working on a project to map the ecological zones in Santa Monica watershed. If there's anything I can help, please let me know. And maybe we can help make maps.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jing.
That's wonderful idea. And I'm sure that about the Santa Monica groundwater basin and Sunny Wong, and with your support, we can do something together.
Thank you, Jing. And I will follow up with you on the other mapping thing. On the other mapping issue that we emailed about the other day. Anyone else? Don't feel shy about raising your hand or just speaking up. I think we're a small enough group if you have a question.
Kent said, we have a challenge getting the community to make climate change and sustainability a priority. Perhaps tapping people with local knowledge related to sustainable lifestyles and knowledge and connecting them to the larger community could raise climate awareness and participation in solutions.
That's a very good question. And I think we do have that responsibility. And we do have people, we have indigenous people living in Los Angeles, many. It's the most populated indigenous peoples throughout North America living in Los Angeles. And they have plenty of local knowledge. And we just need to get to know them. And they have climate awareness. And we can participate with indigenous and local people to work out solutions together.
Wonderful.
I see Jillian. Hi, one of my professors.
Hi, David. I loved your talk. I love the fact that you're so positive in a situation where a lot of us could feel overwhelmed, and that you've jumped into the sustainable picture so broadly, and creating a new class and participating in the garden. I wanted to hear a little bit more about the 19th Street project. But it's heartening and encouraging just to think about all the actions that all of us could be taking. And thank you for the comment about the Santa Monica Organic Learning Garden, which, yes, we love. And
So I would like to ask, thank you, Jillian,
Yeah.
based on what you just said about 19th Street and appreciating that, and thanking David for bringing his energy and perspective. I would like to know from this group, I'm just about what if you had something magical, inspiring about our community and our region that you wanted to share, what would it be? So one of them for me was the king tides. I went by myself to observe them a few years ago and thought, I want to create a community of people who every year honor the earth and the cycles of nature and connect with each other around this interesting event. And that's how I met David and Huiji, who were his wife, partner, who as well. And that's why David's here today. If you had something that you wanted to really share with people that you think would enrich their soul and bring them together, what might you want to share? I'm curious. To add to David's list.
This is for Jillian. She's a very wise person.
I mean, personally, I think, because I'm on the campus at Santa Monica College and because we have a beautiful garden, that's where I like to hang out and invite people. We have an ad hoc group right now on Wednesdays of people who come garden and eat. And it's very unorganized and just delightful because it's been spontaneous. So I think wherever you are, and I love that, I guess you organized, Lorraine, the King Tide event. So
Yes.
I guess every time when you feel inspired and you love something and you're in a situation to be able to do it, then small events like that and big things like the new 19th Street.
Well, okay, well, let me throw one out then that relates to you, Jillian, and to anyone else here associated with SMC. So I've been living in Santa Monica for 12 years, maybe more now. And I went to do a job fair at SMC. And the job fair was set up in, I think, what they call the quad.
Yeah.
I had never been in there. It is beautiful. And as a birder, I thought, how come I have never been here to go birding? How come I have never been here with my chasm friends to just sit underneath these glorious trees that are in bloom and buy all these native plants? And I agree with you. I think one of the things that we could do for our community is invite people from the community to explore the SMC campus. I would love to put that down as a chasm sort of field trip, maybe, or do one special for birders during migration season. What birds are in all those trees? What is passing through? So I just want to throw that out as something I would love to share. And now you added another one for SMC, and it just strikes me that we could do more to share that treasure.
Yeah, I think that's a fabulous idea. Just the idea of working together. I see the black-eyed junco, is that what they're called, in the garden now? They've changed their habitat in Santa Monica because now they're further down where I live at 28th Street. But I mean, we would learn from birders, and all the trees at Santa Monica College are labeled. Somebody had if you've probably noticed, but somebody took their sabbatical and did research on the trees, and they're labeled now with their story, where they come from. I don't know what is still there after the new building, if anything was lost. But that makes a great trip in itself, to wander from tree to tree and come to the garden, look at the quad and the birds. I love that idea.
Let's try to do that, because I have heard from the SMC leadership that actually they feel people don't know enough about how many wonderful assets there are on the campus. And
I think it's important.
And
yeah.
having this dialogue will help build the relationship that we need on some other things that maybe aren't as great, or that need a little bit of tweaking, and so we can only do that if we have a spirit of friendship and collaboration built up. And
Absolutely.
so I would love to do that. Jing Lu would like to share a picture. Jing, I don't know if you're ready to do that, but I'm going to just allow you for a moment to share your screen, and I'll make you co-host so that you can speak. As well, I'm gonna I don't know if can you share your screen with everyone and tell us about that picture, Jing?
Okay, thank you, Lauren, because now it's 3 a.m. in China, so I cannot turn on my camera.
Okay. So it's in the chat, I guess. I'm gonna download it, and I will
I
see.
can share my screen.
Oh yeah, share your screen. Okay, great.
If I may.
Yes, and after Jing, Huiji has her hand up, I see.
All right, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so basically I'm now in China visiting my family. And also my grandma passed away last year, so this is 1 year memorial for her in the local home village with my grandpa and the entire family. So we went there, and you can see we do a lot of windmills here, generate electronic power. And now they're growing the corn. I think it's a few weeks ago. So you can see each family have a little block, and they do farm. They can grow everything, but they don't own the land because the central government own the land. But they can decide Actually, it's a group decision. They for each village, they need to meet to decide that this block we grow corn, that block we grow peanuts, watermelon, and they have a like a plan. They have a plan for the entire village. But now, you know, it's the corn season, so they do a lot of corn here. Oh, it's happening here. So you can see here, this is the corn, and this is a windmill, a little corn. Yeah, just pictures. And this is the village. So you can see the dirt road and this is the very old house. And this is the very old bricks house. And this is peanuts. And this is a very old building. This is in my grandparents' generation. They built building like this. And let me see whether I can zoom in because I want you guys to focus on. Oh, here we go. The decoration of the roof. You can see they use those bricks to build, you know, those patterns. I think it's really beautiful. And in my hometown, we have in the central part of China, and in the summer especially, it's just like Japan. They have like storms, so it rain a lot in the summer. It's hot and humid, like Florida, you know. So the roof, the shape is like this triangle, pyramid shape, so the water can go down. It's really interesting. But as a comparison, you see, this is the new house. See. They have those banners, which means you have a lot of luck, you have a lot of money, and the entire family will, you know, do a lot, doing well. So things like that. But they also grow. They have those little, you know, tricyclers, the truck to carry the food and everything, and they also grow little things in front of their house. Just like us. Those are the corn and the bean. And let's see. Yeah, this is a long green bean in my home in the village. It's the season.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you. Thank you
thank
for
you.
allowing me sharing this.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, well, we have, and let's have Hui Ji speak next.
I have a
We have,
two
hold
points.
on, Hui Ji, hold on, Hui Ji.
Yeah.
We have booked this time until 1 o'clock. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who has come. We will stop the recording in a moment. But anyone who wants to stay online, please do. And let us all show our thanks, however we want to do it on Zoom, to David and everyone else who spoke and participated, and also to Nancy for helping to organize. And so I'm going to stop recording, but please, anyone who would like to stay on. Hui Ji, you're next.
I have 2 points to mention to respond to Jillian and you. And I think after